And here we are again, episode 309 of
The Horror Guys.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin, and we're going to talk about some horror movies today.
We will.
Yeah.
As usual, we don't spoil movies anymore. We've given up spoiling movies for Halloween. Some people give things up for Lent. We give it up for Halloween. But yeah, we're not spoiling anymore. We're just giving you the taste of the movies. But if you want the full spoilers, you can pick those up over at horrorweekly.com, where you can read every little twist and detail and secret about these movies. Plus, you can even have it delivered to your mailbox once a week. You don't have to go to the site.
That's convenient.
Sign up. It is free.
And free is good.
What's better than free? Not much.
More free.
Of course, if you prefer and don't want to read emails or websites, you can always pick up all our reviews every month at horrormonthly.com. We have an ebook version that you can read in your Kindle or your Kobo or whatever you use for ebooks. Or, oh my goodness, it's paperback. You can get them in paperback. You can put them on your shelf. Flip through them. Loan them to other people. Take it to the bathroom with you.
What?
All those things.
And you can take them in the tub without having to worry about shorting out your electronic device.
Who does that, really? Does anybody really take a book into the bathtub? It's going to get wet. Your hands are wet.
Yeah, I've done it before.
It's worse than a Kindle, though. Kindles, I believe, are waterproof now.
It can be pretty bad, but I've done it. You know.
All right.
Books dry. If you get them wet, they dry out.
Not bathing approved. All right, so we got Horror Weekly, Horror Monthly. We are in good shape here. We've covered all the bases, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
We got old movies and new movies this week.
Yeah, we do. What do we got?
We got the sequel, Smile 2. Smile Again.
Yay.
Yeah. And Daddy's Head, which is out new this year.
Not Daddy, just the head.
Just his head, yep. And 1992's Alien 3. Huh.
That's the bald one, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
Everybody got the shaved heads in that one. And 1969's Godzilla creature feature, All Monsters Attack.
Ooh, a classic.
And 1976, I don't know if we can call this one a classic, The Food of the Gods. I guess it's sort of a classic. It's kind of a campy kind of classic.
I wanted to watch that so bad when it came out. My parents wouldn't take me to the theater for that one.
I saw it when it came out.
Of course you did.
You saw The Exorcist.
You saw The Exorcist when you were 3 or
So,
something.
yeah.
But yeah, the trailers for Food of the Gods made it look so good, and I couldn't get to go see it, so I ended up getting the book through Scholastic.
And it's not the same.
You know, the school Scholastic, those books you get every couple weeks?
Mm-hmm.
They had horror books back then.
They did, yeah.
Of course, it was H.G. Wells, so I don't know if it was considered horror, really. More classic. But...
More classic and science fiction.
All right.
Yeah. And the Food of the Gods movie is actually a little snippet of H.G. Wells' story. There's much more to H.G. Wells' story, and it's much more science fiction-y.
Okay,
there's a much lower body count.
I'm sure I read it at the time, but I don't remember the book.
Yeah, they took a section of it and amped up the horror element of it. Yeah.
As they should.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we'll have 5 excellent shorts for you. We shorted you on shorts last week. We're back to doing shorts again. All the website stuff has shaken out. It is just fine.
All right.
If you're only interested in short films, that's what we do on HorrorGuys.com. 5 or so short films every week. So, yeah, there's a lot of places to go for all this stuff. But if you go to HorrorWeekly.com, you get it all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so anyway, this week, one of our movies is Alien 3, which is in the middle of the road. We have also covered the original Alien movie from 1979, Aliens from a couple years later, that's the second one, and Alien Romulus, which is the newest one, just a couple of weeks ago. We have covered those on either the Horror Guys or HorrorWeekly.com. You can go read your reviews there. And today we're doing Alien 3, but all the other Alien movies are going to be on this week's Members Only podcast, which we'll be releasing in a few days.
Oh, interesting.
What are these other movies?
All the Alien movies.
Well, we've got Alien Resurrection, Alien Prometheus, Alien Covenant, Alien vs. Predator, and Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we got those Predator movies, too.
Just saw Requiem last weekend, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
It was all right.
I liked that one a lot, actually. Way more than I expected to.
I didn't remember the Predator movies being any big deal, but they were pretty decent, actually, on a rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Prometheus and Alien Covenant both made a lot more sense if you watch them back to back.
Yes. Yes, they do.
We saw them originally when they came out a couple years apart, and they're like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
The
what
second one
happened?
didn't make a lot of sense, but yeah, they're all right if you watch them in back-to-back.
I thought that helped a lot. Yeah.
Alien Resurrection, I'm going to say, was a lot worse than I remembered it. I liked it when it came out. I thought it was really cool, but it does not really hold up too well.
Oh, see, I thoroughly enjoyed that one again.
All right. Well, you'll have to tune into our members-only podcast over at horrorweekly.com and find out the full story of what we thought.
Yeah.
All right. Well, back in 2022, we did the movie Smile, and it was pretty popular at the time. It's a lot of people talk about Smile as one of their favorite movies.
And it was so popular, they decided, hey, let's make another one. And Parker Finn, the writer and director, said, yeah, I got an idea for another
All
one.
right. Well, I don't remember. I don't remember being blown away by the first one. It was okay. I liked it.
I liked the second one better.
I liked the second one better too.
Yeah, I will say that proudly.
Written and directed by Parker Finn, stars Naomi Scott, Rosemarie DeWitt, and Lucas Gage. 2 hours and 7 minutes. It's long, isn't it?
It is.
And a trailer in the show notes. And yes, as spoilers on our reviews, we both liked it better than the first one.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler-free, this sequel takes the elements and ideas from the first movie and cranks up the dial. We thought it was bigger and better in every way. Maybe a little bit on the long side, like we mentioned, it's 2 hours, 7 minutes. That's quite a commitment for a movie. But overall, we both did like it more than the first movie.
Yeah.
So if you like the first one, you should definitely check this one out.
I think this one probably has fewer body counts. It's been a few years since the first one, but I think this one's...
This one's got quite a few bodies.
It does.
Yeah, it might be a tie. We didn't actually strongly compare the counts.
It's been a while since we saw the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we start out with a message on the screen that it's 6 days later. And we see Joel, the surviving character from the first film, sitting in his car. He pulls down a mask and pulls a gun on a man. He leads the man into the man's house and stabs him in front of his brother. The brother then shoots Joel, who shoots him back. Both men die, leaving Joel alone, which was not what he was expecting.
Yeah, he needed a live witness.
Yeah, the
There is
rules
no live
is
witness.
you're supposed to kill yourself in front,
kill
you
somebody.
kill somebody else in front of a witness.
And the beast or whatever it is will
Moves
pass
into
on
that
to
witness,
them,
yeah.
into the witness.
But in this case, both the people in the room die.
So
which,
Joel is stuck. Yeah.
He had to have a live witness to pass the curse on to. Unexpectedly, a young guy comes into the room. Joel thought it was just the now dead guys who were there. This wasn't meant for you, Joel apologizes.
Yeah, he didn't witness it. He came in after the fact, so he can't.
I think he did witness it.
No, I don't think so. He didn't count.
Well, then where did the monster go after Joel dies? Yeah, I think he did. I think he was sleeping in the corner or something. He saw it.
Okay.
But the brothers' gang then shows up, and Joel just barely escapes right into the path of a truck, which kills him excessively. Boy, that skid mark.
Yeah.
Smile-shaped skid mark.
Yep, it was.
And you know, when people back into the street, and you just know that the way it's framed, they're going to get hit by something. I didn't see this one coming. This one was a surprise.
Yeah.
Like,
it
oh,
was.
wow, he got hit by the truck.
Excessively.
And credits roll. Well, then we cut to an interview show talking to pop star Sky Riley, who was in a tragic accident a year ago. She announces a new tour kicking off just next week, and she's had a very rough year we hear about. We then cut to Sky rehearsing for her next video, but she hurts her back. We see that she's got a fairly serious injury from the accident that has left scars and residual pain. Her mother, Elizabeth, is there, and she's happy that Sky is getting back on her feet. Well, Sky calls Lewis, her former drug dealer, for some Vicodin, and he is really messed up. He says he's had a bad week, and he's in the middle of something seriously weird and scary. Lewis then disappears into the back room and emerges screaming. He sees something in the room that Sky doesn't. He has a seizure and then smiles maniacally, which creeps her out. He then beats himself to death with a barbell plate, smiling all the while. Sky goes home in shock. That night, in her room, she sees Lewis standing over her, smashed face and all. The next day, Darius invites her to a charity event, but she still sees Lewis in the mirror's reflection, but not in the actual room. We soon see that being a superstar does not look like a lot of fun. One of the fans she meets up with is insane, But the one after that doesn't speak at all and has a huge, creepy smile.
And we know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hallucinations.
All right, we'll stop there. You know, she has seen the guy commit suicide, so we know that she's infected or whatever it is with the monster, and there's smiles everywhere. All right.
So you think the thing passed on to that young guy that was there?
Otherwise, it would have died.
And then it made its way to Sky.
Yeah, if there's not a witness, it doesn't proceed.
Okay.
There had to have been a witness.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We don't see what that happens to that young guy, but we know he passes it on to eventually this drug dealer somehow through a chain.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, why couldn't Sky just get a prescription for her Vicodin? She seems to have a legitimate reason with her injury. She didn't need to go to a drug dealer for a fix.
Well, it's mentioned that she's had, with my history of drug abuse, there's no way a doctor would prescribe they certainly would prescribe.
For somebody in her position, as rich and as famous and as wealthy, they have ways.
Yeah, and even, she legitimately needs the Vicodin. Give it to a trusted handler or her mother who will dole them out. You can have one every 8 hours, or something like that. It's totally
it's
contrived.
It's
a way to get her to the drug dealer.
Well, the character of Sky was based on Lady Gaga, but that's pretty obvious from the stuff we see her doing on stage. As far as I'm aware, the real Lady Gaga hasn't run into any supernatural entities, but I could be wrong. Still, Naomi Scott does all her own singing and dancing here, and she's very good.
Yeah, it is good. Yeah.
I'd never really heard of her before this.
No.
She's very good at it.
Yeah, it was good.
There are a lot of jump scares here, but several of them are really well executed. Like that truck thing in the beginning that I said.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just loud noises for no reason.
They have a reason.
They do. When something happens, you know it.
Yeah.
The gore effects are really excellent here, and Sky goes through a lot of torment.
Is it? Does she, though?
Well, this is my problem with the movie. The ending is a little bit confusing, and I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but how much of the movie was real and how much was a creature-induced hallucination?
You know what it reminded me a little bit in that regard was Oculus. You remember that one with the cursed mirror?
You see things that aren't necessarily real? Yeah.
Yeah, and then suddenly, boom, you're in reality. And none of that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there could be a lot of this that was all in her head.
Yeah, I'm not going to read the rest of this little bit here because it's spoilery, but yeah, the ending leaves a little bit to be desired, I thought.
But the very ending, I thought...
it's very cool to watch.
The very ending was like, oh, crap. yeah, that's a hell of an ending.
Yeah, it's maybe a hair on the long side, but I don't know what I'd cut out. No, overall, I thought it was far superior to the original.
Well, I don't know about far superior, but yeah, definitely better.
I mean, of all the movies of 2002, Smile was one of them. I mean, it didn't blow me away.
Yeah, I think this one will stick with me more. It's more of a stick to your ribs kind of movie, like a hearty bowl of oatmeal on a cold winter day.
Well, all right then.
Where the Smile is, a donut, where it's it's satisfying, but it doesn't fill you up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of all the horror movies of 2024, Daddy's Head is on the list.
Yeah, this was okay.
Yeah.
I think I liked it more than you did.
I think you did too.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Benjamin Barfoot. Stars James Harper Jones, Rupert Turnbull, and Julia Brown. Hour and 32 minutes trailer in the show notes. All right, spoiler free.
Well, we get a spoiler right from the beginning that young Isaac will survive the movie.
Yes, we see him a little bit older, and
he's there at his former home. But who else will survive?
That's
what we don't know. Yeah. It's really a family drama that's drenched in grief with a dose of horror.
The real monster was the grief we met along the way.
Yeah. It's heavy on the grief and angst. And is that a real monster lurking in the shadows?
Or is it just his imagination?
Yeah. Well,
I hate this kind of thing. I'm getting so tired of these movies where you wonder if it's even real till the end.
The choice is made to make us wonder, maybe a little bit too much. But I thought it was pretty good, and I liked it more than disliked it. I enjoyed it, and I liked the wrap up, and I'd give it a thumbs up.
Okay.
Spoiler.
Well, spoilery.
Don't spoil it. Give him a little taste.
Well, yeah. Isaac goes into the empty house and stares at the air vent. This is like old teenager, maybe 20s, I don't know. He flashes back to when he was younger, visiting his dying father in the hospital. The bandaged up man in the bed is badly injured and clearly dying. There was a car accident, I think.
Yeah, and he's all bashed up.
Credits roll. Well, after the father dies, Isaac goes home with his stepmother, Laura, but he's not adjusting well.
Neither is she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laura has inherited everything, but she has to choose whether or not to become Isaac's legal guardian. Laura's own mother thinks it might be best if she gives the boy up to social services because she's had issues in the past.
Yeah, she...
So here we are. Is she crazy? It sounds like there may be some history there.
Yeah, and then, the stress of this builds up more, and she drinks a lot, and this is not helping. But yeah, she genuinely loved Dad, the father, and the kid was like, unnecessary evil. She was never into the kid.
Yeah.
Well, now the kid is hers. Or, or she could give it up, could give Isaac up for foster care. Well, she decides to stick it out.
Well, then Laura goes to sleep that night and wakes up to see a strange man standing outside in the dark. Was it a dream?
Don't know.
Well, dead James, the dad, his best friend Robert comes over to talk to the survivors. That night, both Laura and Isaac see bright lights. In the morning, they both go outside and see a big forest fire in the distance. There's a huge cloud of smoke, but when the fire department arrives, they can't find a fire at all. Was that ever explained?
No, it wasn't. Yeah, but there's weird things happening, and they are both seeing them. So they're not strictly hallucinating these things.
Well, the next night, Laura actually sees James outside. He calls her name, but his face is missing. In the morning, they bury James because it is time for the funeral.
And the burial place is a garden, a memorial garden right there on
their
estate.
land, yes.
It's a huge estate.
Yeah.
And a huge tract of forest attached to it. And they're really isolated. But it's a huge... he was a very successful architect.
Yeah. Laura, Isaac, and Bella the dog see something round and scary in the living room that night, and the dog chases it out the window. Neither of them sleep well that night.
Yeah, that was almost like a giant bug. You don't see it very well.
Or could it have been a head?
Yeah.
Well, we
Daddy's
don't know.
head? Yeah. It was, unclear.
Robert comes over to help in the morning, and he seems to like being around Laura. He offers to stay and make them dinner. That night, Isaac sees the thing in his room, and it's his father's head. "Come to the forest," it says before vanishing. Well, in the morning, Isaac goes into the woods to talk to the head, but the dog rushes in and attacks it. Isaac swears his father has come back through some kind of accident. His father says he's not supposed to be here. The social worker just says Laura needs to be more supportive of the grieving child. All right, and that's the rest of the movie, basically, until the ending. There's a lot of this going back and forth of believing or not believing.
There's a lot of grieving and a lot of sightings and a lot of strangeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those stories where it could be supernatural or it could just be a coping with grief story. We weren't really sure until the end, but it is clear at the end.
Yeah, we do get an answer.
Yeah, a very definite answer.
What's going on and who's what and where and stuff. Yeah.
The house in the woods, that they find a house where this thing supposedly lives, it's very neatly designed and very cool. We see very little of the monster until the end, which is not cool. It's kind of awful looking. Mm-hmm. Very poor CGI. Overall, it's more family drama than horror, but it's okay.
I like that.
Yeah. It's
and the creature is shadowy enough where I think the CGI was forgivable.
All right.
It's laid on thick. Yeah. It was. I liked how they wrapped it up at the end, though. I appreciated that.
Oh yeah, they definitely made it all clear at the end.
Yeah.
Alien 3 from 1992. And going back in my memory, this is the worst of all the Alien movies.
Now, this is the one where Sigourney and Newt make it back to Earth.
No.
And Sigourney marries Hicks, and they adopt Newt and
It could have gone that way.
And Newt and Jonesy.
But no, they
love
killed basically everybody except for her.
Yeah, you know those characters that you loved that went through hell in the second movie? Yeah.
Yeah,
Sigourney,
they're done.
Yeah, Ripley's the only one that survives. So
we watched,
there's a spoiler right off the beginning.
Yeah, I will mention here when we get to the commentary, I'm not going to scroll through it, one of the more modern cuts of this movie, and it was quite a bit better than what I remember.
I liked that.
This was much better. Cut. Assembly cut, okay, yeah.
It's an extended version. There's a lot of footage added. It really fleshes out the characters of the prisoners and makes them more interesting. and makes it make more sense of why this handful of guys is in this huge facility that's all beaten up and run down. And
Yeah, if you can find the assembly cut, it is far better than the original.
definitely recommend that.
And it has bumped this up from the worst of the Alien movies to somewhere
Very
in the
good.
middle.
Yeah.
Directed by David Fincher, written by Dan O'Bannon, Ronald Shusett, and Vincent Ward, stars Sigourney Weaver, Charles S. Dutton, and Charles Dance. 2 hours and 24 minutes. So they've
Holy
added
cow.
a lot to this.
They did. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Spoiler free, we saw the assembly cut this time around after previously seeing it in the theatrical release and whatever that came out on DVD at the time. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of extra footage that gives much more character to the prisoners, tells more background, and helps fill out Ripley's character a little more.
Yeah, I appreciated that too. Yeah.
Plus, we get more xenomorph action, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you enjoyed the first 2 movies, you'll likely have a good time here too. I mean, it's not as horror as the first one. It's not as action as the second one. But it's decent. It's a good continuation.
It's still people being hunted by a monster.
It is.
Yeah,
All right, tell us about it.
Well, as the credits roll, we open with shots of the Sulaco from Aliens, the ship they got away in at the end, with the 3 survivors in cryosleep. Except there's clearly a facehugger on board.
We didn't see that in the second movie.
Yeah, in the theatrical cut, you're left to kind of wonder for a while.
I think we're told all this later on, what happened.
Yeah, here you see it. Well, bad things happen to the ship, and the lifeboat portion is ejected. The escape pods crash. It's an escape pod with the cryopods in it. That crashes on Fiorina 161, a mining prison planet. And Clemens is out for a walk on the beach and finds Ripley laying there unconscious in the sand on the beach alone. The ship crashed out in the water, and they saw it come down, and he's out there investigating. Well, he carries her back to the base, and the other men are shocked. It's a woman. Get down to the beach. There may be others, he commands. And we soon learn that Hicks and Newt have died in the crash, and Bishop was smashed up beyond repair. They send a report back to the company about what they found. Well, Dylan calls a meeting of the other prisoners. He's a preacher, and all the prisoners have sworn a vow of nonviolence and celibacy.
It's a very weird prison. We're still getting the taste of the dynamics here. There's not guards or anything like that. Turns out this was a mining colony, and these guys had a prison there. And I guess everything shut down and left, and these prisoners just sort of decided to stay.
They had nowhere else to go, and so then the company said, yeah, whatever, you can have it. And so Andrews then explains about the crashed escape pod and the sole survivor. It's probably in everyone's best interest if the woman doesn't come out of the infirmary. None of the men has seen a woman in years. Well, Ripley does finally wake up. Clemens fills her in on what's happening. That's Charles Dance. He suggests that she shave her head. They have a lice problem.
Ew.
Yeah. So this is Ripley's buzz cut movie. The base only has a staff of 25 prisoners, and she eventually inspects the ship that came down and notices the acid burn on Newt's cryopod. She inspects the body, but Newt doesn't seem to have been impregnated with an egg.
Somebody had to have been.
Yeah. Well, Ripley wants to do an autopsy just to be sure, but there's nothing there. And she doesn't come right out and explain the full story of what's going on. And Clemens is left to wonder.
He knows something's going on, but he doesn't know what.
Because she's being so weird and evasive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And insisting on an autopsy for Newt, when clearly Newt died of drowning,
Yeah.
without waking up. Well, some of the other men wonder what killed their prime cow.
Moo.
Yeah. They find a dead facehugger nearby.
Oh.
So we've got a cow xenomorph in this one. Which isn't as comical as it sounds.
No.
It's still horrific and deadly. Yeah. Ripley talks to Superintendent Andrew, talks him into having a funeral and cremation for the 2 dead bodies.
She wants them burned.
Yeah, just to make sure. And while they do this, we cut back to the dead cow as something comes out of the body. A xenomorph that runs on 4 legs.
Yeah, with these xenomorphs, they take on half of the host of whatever they are, plus whatever they're hatched from. Mm-hmm. The ones we've seen in the past all came out of humans.
So they were
This one's a
humanoid.
little different.
This one's, 4-legged. Yeah, still just as deadly. Dylan talks to some men in the cafeteria who complain about Galak. He stinks and he's crazy. Yeah, well, Dylan basically tells them deal with it. And then Ripley walks in, and all eyes are on her. She's going to be trouble, but she stands up for herself. Well, later Clemens talks to Ripley, and he really wants to know what she expected to find inside a newt. Rather than answer, she has sex with him.
Well, there's a distraction.
That escalated quickly. Yeah. We cut to a maintenance man working in a ventilation shaft. He finds a molted skin, and then what came out of it. And Clemens gets called to deal with the mess.
There's an alien on board.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's stop there.
And he quickly puts it together. He's a really smart guy.
Yeah. All right, again, we watched that assembly cut from the 2003 special edition. It's nearly a half hour longer than the original theatrical cut. A large block of the opening is different, as we were simply told about Hicks and Newt in the original, but here we see a lot more about their retrieval. Mm-hmm. A lot of the other scenes are extended, and there's a lot more detail. Overall, it's much improved over the one for original.
Would highly recommend this version.
Yeah,
Yes.
this time around, we know from the get-go that Ripley is infected. Mm-hmm. Right away, even before, right in those opening credits, we see it. But it takes a crazy long time for these eggs to hatch. Funny how that happens. And you watch Romulus, and the one woman gets infected, and it bursts out of her like 2 minutes later. And this one, Sigourney Weaver, goes like days.
Well, it could be because it was a new queen coming out of her.
Queens take longer?
It could be.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's logical. Okay.
Yeah. And this one, too, has a little bit more implication and hints of, so a little more explanation of, they clearly escaped and killed the queen, and, how did the facehuggers still get on the ship and everything? The Bishop did that. Bishop.
He didn't say that.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah, they've always been with us. He says something along those lines.
Yeah, he said that.
Because he knew. Because there was that time gap where she was, off rescuing Newt and getting the queen, and he went and got some facehuggers and eggs and things or something.
I didn't pick that up. Okay.
Yeah. Bishop was a company man the whole time.
So there are no good androids in this universe.
Not really. Yeah.
All right. Well, there were a few added scenes that probably could have been cut, but overall, this longer version is definitely the way to go.
And the problem, and we see that kind of in Alien Romulus, when Andy gets the upgrade, and then he has some company programming inside him, that these androids, like Bishop, and, they want to be good, but the overriding program that the company puts in them says, you will do this, and they have no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of no choice, we've been watching all the original Godzilla movies. Slowly, we took a long time off there for Halloween, but we're back to the sequence. We've got 1969's All Monsters Attack, also known as Godzilla's Revenge. Who does Godzilla get revenge on? I think it's the audience.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Directed by Ishiro Honda, Jun Fukuda, and Kengo Furusawa. Written by Shinichi Sekizawa. Stars Kenji Sahara, Machiko Naka, and Tomonori Yazaki. Hour and 9 minutes.
At least it was short.
Very short.
It had that. I'm grateful for the shortness on this one.
If you don't remember this one, I strongly suggest you check out that trailer that's in the show notes. Mm-hmm. And it may turn you off the whole deal. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Spoiler free.
Well, this is a version of the mythos with a child as the central character. He's a latchkey kid.
Remember when that was a thing?
Yeah. Coming home after school and nobody's home, you're on your own. Well, he's kind of on the lonely side, but he has a very active imagination. Quite a bit of the film consists of clips stitched together, interspaced with the kid's storyline, and some new scenes created of him with Minizilla. Manila, the son of Godzilla. I understand you didn't hate it, but I kind of did. Yeah. I almost did.
Okay. Well, we watch some clips of the famous monsters as the credits roll, along with what might be the worst theme song ever recorded.
That's something.
We find out a reason for it later. It's a song that the kid makes up. But we open on a very industrial-looking area of Japan as two children walk to school. Little Ichiro talks about the sound that Manila makes. He's a fan of the monsters, and his friend is Sachiko. We get a song that smog and pollution are the real monsters. Well, we see that Ichiro's father drives a train. He doesn't like that his son doesn't have any friends and that he's a latchkey kid. But his coworker reads a newspaper story about robbers in the area. Well, some bullies pick on Ichiro, and they call him Chicken. After school, he stops off at Shinpei's, his inventor friend's house, who's built a kitty computer.
I want one of those.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
That was awesome.
It shows pictures of the moon, but Ichiro is more interested in Monster Island. Remember, this is 1969, and everything was about the moon.
Mm-hmm. And that computer's like 1969 futuristic.
Yeah.
You know, what they thought the future would be like.
Well, Ichiro is home alone, and he watches the news about the 50 million yen heist and the robbers. He uses a beat-up old radio to pretend to contact Monster Island. And supposedly, this is the first mention of Monster Island.
Okay.
Although there have been so many different types of islands that these monsters live on in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, he imagines himself on an airplane en route to Monster Island. We then get clips of Godzilla beating up various monsters, which is all reused footage. But he sees and identifies all the monsters there, so we remember all their names. He runs from the monsters and runs into a nearly bottomless pit. When he gets out of the pit, he runs into Manila, baby Godzilla, who speaks to him in English and is very nice. Suddenly, Gabara attacks, and they run away and hide.
Well, it wasn't in English. It was in Spanish with subtitles.
Not Spanish, Japanese.
Did I say, yeah, Japanese with subtitles? Yeah, we watched the original Japanese version. There is a dubbed version.
Okay, he speaks in human language. I don't care if it's Japanese or English. Yeah, but he speaks, unlike Godzilla.
Right, yeah.
Okay, not English. You're right. I did misspeak.
Okay.
But he does speak, which is the thing.
Yeah, they have conversations, yeah.
Okay, then the phone rings, and Ichiro's mother says she has to work late and won't be home tonight. This takes Ichiro right out of his dream. He then goes outside to play and hides from the local bully, whose name is also Gabara, inside an abandoned building. He finds some cool loot in the wreckage, but someone else is there. It's the robbers. We knew they were going to show up.
Yep.
Too many mentions.
Mm-hmm,
Ichiro
definitely.
leaves, but not before pocketing one of the robbers' driver's license. All right. Well, the police go to Shinpei's house and warn him that the robbers are in the area as he and Ichiro eat dinner. Ichiro takes a nap after, and soon he's back with Gabara and running through the woods.
Back on Monster Island.
Yeah, we'll stop there because it's about a kid and Godzilla and Manila and Gabara and imaginary stuff. Well, all the monsters here are good guys and heroic, except for when they kill a bunch of fighter pilots.
Yeah, Godzilla.
That's kind of glossed over.
It certainly is, but Godzilla is standing there in one scene and the jets are buzzing him, and he's just snatching him out of the air and crushing him and throwing him against cliff faces. And,
But he's a good guy.
But he's a good guy. Yeah.
Well, the director, Ishiro Honda, said this is his second favorite Godzilla film after the original. He has directed most of the Godzilla movies at this point. And this was his second favorite.
Wow.
Odd.
Yeah, very odd.
It was also the first Godzilla film marketed specifically toward children, something that many of the next series of Godzilla films would emulate. So we finished the original era of Godzilla where they were scary monsters. Now the second era that we're just starting to get into is much more kiddified. Most of the monster footage here was reused from previous films as the budget here was tiny. With years between releases and the young age of the intended audience, probably very few people noticed at the time. They hadn't seen those old movies anyway. Still, this is Ichiro's story, not Godzilla's, and his stuff is all new. It was highly regarded as a children's film when it came out, but I don't think it really holds up today, at least for adults.
It might for kids.
Boy, Boy, kids today can't do half the stuff a churro could do. Walking home from school alone is a big stretch at this point, much
Yeah.
less digging through abandoned buildings and fighting bullies and robbers.
They would look at this and say, "What? These children are walking home?" Yeah, we just encountered
Times have changed.
We just encountered that recently with a local school that was letting out for kid pickup, and the cars were backed up for blocks
Yeah.
in a line waiting up to pick up all these kids. Like, what? I used to walk home from school.
Yeah, but you're old. It's
Yeah.
official. We're old.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, maybe for Japanese-speaking kids at the time, this was probably peak entertainment. But for American kids of a churro's age, there's probably way too much reading with the subtitles. We didn't watch a subtitled version, or we watched the subtitled version. I don't know if the dubbed version is any good or not, but if you got a kid, I would definitely go with the dubbed version.
It would be a lot of reading.
Yeah. Overall,
Although maybe that would be a good thing if if they're learning how to, if they're developing their language skills.
I think it depends on how fast a reader they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be. I think it's a little much to keep up on for the little kids. This is aimed toward little kids at Chiro's age. He's like 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd probably want dubbed.
Overall, I didn't hate it if you understand what it's about, but it's very different from what it came before. Kevin, on the other hand,
Yeah, this one didn't work for me. I got tired of the kid. Wasn't impressed with the stitched together, reused footage. Just too kid oriented. So if you want to,
that was the point.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to introduce Godzilla to a kid, this is probably a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're over the age of 8, you may not appreciate this one too much.
Yeah, I'd say stick with the other Godzilla movies. Yeah.
All right, well, we go from Godzilla to Godluncha. Godluncha?
God lunch.
The Food of the Gods. God Lunch, yes. 1976, Food of the Gods, directed by Burt I. Gordon, written by H.G. Wells and Burt I. Gordon. Kind of wonder what his middle name is. Not many names start with I.
Iggy.
Iggy.
I'm going to go with Iggy.
Burt Iggy Gordon. Stars Marjo Gordner, Pamela Franklin, and Ralph Meeker. Hour and 29 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Yeah, like I said, this came out, I was, 8 or 9 or something like that, and it looked so cool with giant rats and monsters, and oh my goodness, what this food could do. The trailer made me want to see that so bad. And it was years until it came on TV and I could watch it, and it was all right then. And we watched it now, and like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It does not hold up to me. It's not bad.
It seemed better at the time.
It's not bad, but it didn't hold up to the memory.
Ira. His middle name is Ira. And he lived to be 100.
Oh, okay.
And he was prodigious in the business.
Is he still alive then?
No, he died in 2023.
Oh,
Just last year, March 8th, 2023. But many giant, giant
monsters.
creature
Uh-huh.
movies, B movies, science fiction and B movies, and yeah, prodigious stuff. Nicknamed Mr. B.I.G., Mr. Big. That's his.
Burt I. Gordon.
Burt I.
Okay,
Gordon.
yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Big.
I did not know that about him.
Well, what do you do when thick, pale sludge starts bubbling out of the ground on your property? Well, you become Beverly Hillbillies, don't you?
Liquid gold.
No. Okay. Not this kind. This stuff here, you feed it to your farm animals, of course. And if the rats and bugs get it too, it just adds to the fun.
And that basic premise there, the farm lady, she's explaining, this started blooping up on their property. If I see some gray sludge blooping up on my property, I'm not going to think, hey, I'm going to mix that with corn and feed it to the chickens.
Why would you?
Why would she make that leap? They don't explain. And
they ate it themselves and it didn't do anything.
Yeah. And like, why would you think that was food? It looks like goop. It's mineral goop coming out of the ground, but
It could be oil for as far as she knows.
well, it's too gray and goopy.
Well.
But, yeah. But anyway,
It's loosely based on a portion of the story by H.G. Wells, though they really pushed that connection. Overall, it was just good, not great. A moderate thumbs up. As far as the 1970s giant animal movies go, this is not terrible.
it's not terrible. The stuff with the rats is
You look at
actually
stuff like Night of the Lepus, which has dogs in
in rat suits.
rabbit costumes and stuff. That is
Rat.
so awful.
Here they use actual rats, and models and perspective, force perspective, and overlays and things. And the effects
pre-CGI, it's pretty good.
the effects are dated. You can see through a lot of them, but it's decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is probably about as good as you can do without computers.
Yeah. The giant bugs, not so much, but the giant rats, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about the giant bugs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they knew those weren't that good. They didn't do much with them. It was mostly the rats.
It's mostly the rats, yeah.
All right, well, what happens?
Well, Morgan explains that he's a major football player on vacation on an island. He brings team photographer Brian along as well. He talks about man polluting the earth and the ominous warning his wise father gave him about nature getting its revenge on mankind someday. Well, we cut to Morgan and some other men chasing a deer on horseback. They corner the deer, but Morgan lets it go.
It's all about the hunt, not the catching.
Yep. Well, Davis wants meat, so he continues on after the deer into the deeper woods until Davis is killed by giant wasps.
Well, okay then.
Yeah. Morgan goes for help, but instead gets assaulted by a gigantic rooster.
He had to fight a big cock?
Yeah.
Sounds like a South Family Guy thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. Yep. He fights it off with a pitchfork. Well, Mrs. Skinner, the owner of the giant chickens, there's not just the rooster. Of course, roosters.
The whole hen house is giant.
Yeah, he goes there looking for a phone. Nobody's around, so he opens this barn and rooster. Well, roosters, protect the chickens, and there's a whole flock of chickens there too. Well, she doesn't have a phone. She's afraid of something and asks Morgan to take a look. She shows him rat holes. The rats and wasps have gotten into the special food that the Lord has sent them.
Oh, my.
Yeah, the food makes things grow big. And Morgan points out that the giant chickens are one thing, but rats and wasps aren't necessarily good.
It could be a problem.
It could be, yeah. And there's some mention, I think, here, too, where you have to feed them young.
Yes.
It doesn't have
the farmer and his wife tried the
adult
food and it did nothing. It only works on young things.
And the same with the adult chickens and adult cows and stuff, yeah. Well, Morgan and Brian go back to the ferry and leave the island. They've got Davis's dead body in the back of the car to take to the coroner. Well, we cut back to Mrs. Skinner, alone in her isolated farm cabin. Mr. Skinner is on the ferry back to the island. He's coming back home, and he asks the man on the boat if he's heard about anything unusual going on, any giant creatures or anything. He doesn't say that, but he knows what's what, and trying to find out if anything weird is happening or things getting out of control. When he finally gets off the ferry, he gets a flat tire on the way home. While he's fixing it, he's eaten by giant rats.
Oh, my.
So, yeah, something has gone wrong. At home, his wife runs into some giant maggots and screams.
All right, we probably should stop there. It's a giant monster movie.
So there's giant creatures.
Those maggots don't come back. Those maggots don't do anything.
No, they were just little. And they must have been teeny tiny to start with, because they're not gigantinormous. And they might not be maggots, because they don't mature into flies.
Some kind of worm.
Some kind of little slug worm things, yeah.
All right, well...
It's more of a just of gross out. She puts her hand into this mass of worms, larvae,
Okay, now there's something about the ending here. It's kind of a spoiler, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Was this entire island under sea level? How do you have an island under sea level?
It's best not to think about the water physics of that. They go to the edge of the island, and there's a dam
holding the ocean out.
But the rest of the island is not surrounded by a dam. There's just a dam at this one point. And so they destroy the dam, and that floods the island.
That's not the way islands work.
That's not how islands work. That's not how water works. Yeah, but it is a good effect, and a necessary effect for the storyline.
Yeah, this was not just like a pond or something. It looked like the whole ocean was on the other side of that dam.
But just at that one point, and then they break the dam, and we're gonna flood the island. What? Yeah, don't think about that too much.
All right, and then I've got my story here about the Scholastic books. Okay, I probably would have enjoyed this a lot if I'd seen it when I was 9, but maybe a lot less today.
I saw it when I was 11. I enjoyed it.
And I did catch it on TV eventually, I don't know, in the 70s probably, and It was edited to pieces. Purely awful. This is a gory, bloody
bet.
movie.
It is, yeah. The attacks are kind of brutal.
Yeah.
The rats really go after people.
The version we watched on Tubi was uncut. Mm-hmm. The rats attacking Brian and Mr. Skinner seemed to go on for quite a while, showed a lot of gore and blood that would have all been edited out.
Surprising amount, yeah. Uh-huh.
The special effects on the breeze are pretty awful and dated, but the rats are well done. A combination of puppets and real rats.
And they said in the trivia, too, that they shoot at the rats.
Yeah, shotguns and stuff.
And you see, red gore appearing on the rats, and they flinch backward.
Some
and
of them like spurt and juice all over the place.
They used basically little miniature paint gun pellets to shoot real rats.
Been some happy rats.
Yeah, but it didn't hurt them. Yeah, it just, and it startled them. So the effect, you see the red splatter, and then they,
The rats would jump with red explosions on them, yeah.
Yeah. So it
very
was
realistic.
A decent effect, yeah.
All right, well, let's move into short films for the week. Starting off with Match, written and directed by Victor Basalote. Stars Adelaide Apollo and Vanessa Orrego. 8.5 minutes, and you can watch it on YouTube.
This isn't the fire kind. This is the
Swipe right.
online dating kind.
What happens?
Well, Rachel uses one of those dating apps. The one where you swipe left or right.
But they don't call it Tinder. It's very generic.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Well, she clicks on Zalier's profile and sees something creepy in the image. Afterward, her app and the phone itself starts to misbehave. Zalier won't stop watching her.
Won't stop matching with her.
Won't
she
start.
Keeps getting him over and over.
Oh, right. Keeps coming up. Yeah. And then the text messages start. So everyone knows there's some risks with online dating, but no one expects this.
Nobody expects this.
This is an extreme case of things gone wrong. Yeah. And there's no explanation of why this is happening, but it's always clear what's happening.
We know what's going on, yes.
Yeah, it was a good one.
All right. The next one we have Room Tone from 2024. Directed by Michael Gabriel, written by him and Danny Rhodes. Stars Mickey O'Sullivan, Angela Aiello, and LaShonda Barton. A little under 9 minutes, and it's also on YouTube.
Now, if you've ever had a job where you're trying to get your job done and people keep interfering, and they won't be quiet, or they won't follow instructions, and you have to keep starting over, and you know how frustrating that is? Well, this guy, he takes it to the extreme.
The director yells cut as the action on set grinds to a halt. Some sort of reality show interview thing. It's break time, and everyone goes their own ways for a quick lunch. Since there's no action, the sound guy comes in to do a room tone recording, which requires the place to be quiet for a minute. How hard could it be?
It's just a minute of quiet.
Well, he soon finds out.
And this is a real thing that they will record. It's basically the background ambient noise of the room, the airflow and the machinery and any, humming from things.
So when they do the cuts and the edits and stuff, that doesn't have absolute silence, which is very distracting.
They can splice in the natural room noises. Except you got to have everybody be quiet for 1 minute. Is that so much to ask?
It's perfectly filmed, well acted, nicely paced, and overall a lot of fun. As someone who has narrated audiobooks and does a podcast every week, I can totally empathize with this guy's problem. It's very well done.
Yeah, it was.
We don't have any meowing cats in here today.
Darkly comedic. There's some dark humor to it, for sure. Yeah.
This may be the best of the week, but the next one's pretty good, too.
Talk about humor.
The Limb Fairy. Written and directed by Will McDaniel, starring Will McDaniel. A little over it's only 4 minutes long, and you can watch it, of course, on YouTube. Oh, that thumbnail, though.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What is that thing?
That's the Limb Fairy.
Okay. What limb is that?
Well, we open on the Limb Fairy flying through the skies, eventually coming into the main character's bedroom as he sleeps. The weird little creature goes to work, trying hard not to wake the man. Well, he fails in this, and then he has to explain himself, which is all very awkward.
What kind of fairy are you?
Oh, just a generic fairy.
The lesson here seems to be that you should be careful what you put under your pillow. You might lose it.
Uh-huh.
Some people put teeth under their pillow, and the tooth fairy comes after it.
You know, and how sometimes you'll put your arm under the pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah, careful of doing that.
This is just ridiculous, cheesy, and very cheap, but it's also very funny.
It's very well done.
Yeah, this is probably the low-budgetest, cheapest thing we've watched this way, and it's also my favorite short.
And they embraced it and went with it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, it was.
Shadow Friends. Written and directed by Connor Neal, stars Kira Dudas. It's very short, and you can watch that in the show notes, of course. There's a link there. Where a girl listens to music in the park and then walks home at dusk. By the time she gets home, it's full dark, so she goes inside and turns on the lights. Wait, was that someone there in the dark? She turns on the lights, and there's no one there, of course. What is going on here? Well, we soon find out, of course. This one is nicely shot with some very nice outdoor cinematography, although many of the indoor scenes are very dark. The special effects are kind of amateurish, but they get the idea across. I would have liked more of a reason for this all to be happening.
I would have too.
We don't know why, but it's still pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it's 7 minutes, 7 seconds.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Didn't have that in there. And our final review is Callie's Last Review, 2024. Written and directed by Julia Bailey Johnson, starring, amazingly enough, Julia Bailey Johnson.
It's a one-woman show, this one.
So was the Limb Fairy, for that matter.
And so was her podcast, yeah.
9 minutes, little over 9 minutes. And, of course, it's on YouTube also. What happens?
Well, this is kind of meta because she's doing a YouTube channel on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. Callie does a beauty blog for her YouTube channel. And she does the usual YouTube-y things as she does her reviews.
Smash that button, like and subscribe.
She's got a new chemical peel kit that she's been offered by a cool new startup. And she does point out a few skin flaws that she hopes the peel will fix. She applies the chemical peel and soon does feel an effect.
It does have an effect.
Oh, my.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's not how peel is supposed to work, is it?
It's all done in the style of a well-produced review video, but it goes a little further than most of them.
Oh, a lot further.
Some people would do anything for their audience.
Got to get them likes.
I love how we can see this getting worse and worse as the video progresses. There are some makeup effects here, but otherwise it's all exactly what you'd expect with an indie streamer. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I liked this one too.
Yeah.
Hard to pick a favorite this week because I really liked this one. Yeah.
That was good too. I'm just going to go for the Limb Fairy just for weirdness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably overall favorite I'd go with.
And Smile
the
2,
Limb
of
Fairy.
course.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, best movie of the week, Smile 2.
Yeah, I think of the ones I probably would recommend against would probably be the All Monsters Attack. It's just a little weird. I didn't care for Daddy's Head either, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm. I liked Daddy's Head. It was cool.
All right, so that was Alien 3. If you want to hear about Alien Prometheus, Alien Covenant, Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator 2, and Alien Resurrection, tune in to our members-only podcast over at horrorweekly.com. That one does require a fee. It's $5 a month or $50 for a year. And you get access to all the back issues of the weekly email, plus all those podcasts. You can get the podcast either way, but all the written stuff, yeah, that's right there on horrorweekly.com.
And you help support us in our work.
Which we need all the support we can get. All right, well, that is it for this week. Next week we'll have some more stuff. Oh, wait, what time is it? This is December 1st, or coming up real soon.
Christmas!
What happens at Christmas?
Christmas horror movies.
Christmas horror movies.
Oh, there's so many of them.
Back in 2022, we did an entire month of Christmas horror movies. And we're like, we couldn't do that again, could we?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Because there's
December
so many.
is the month of Christmas horror.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to read about a lot of the bigger name, better ones, let me look it up here. Let's see, how would we do this? horrormonthly.com.
Christmas?
I will walk you through this here.
Keyword Christmas?
Yeah, just go to the back issues and look at the pictures. Horror Monthly back issues. I'm scrolling. There it is with Santa Claus on the front. It's January 2022, issue number 4.
Okay.
If you want to go back and read all the good Christmas movies, and I'm saying the good Christmas movies, you have Black Christmas, Christmas Evil, Gremlins, all the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, Jack Frost, Day of the Beast, Wind Chill, The Children, Rare Exports. I love Rare Exports.
That was so good.
Krampus, Christmas Horror Story, Better Watch Out, Red Christmas, Anna and the Apocalypse, and a whole bunch of other good stuff, all in issue number 4 from December. Oh, it's 2021. Okay, wrong year.
Oh,
I said
okay.
2022 earlier. It's 2021.
Time flies.
It's issue number 4 if you want to go back and get those. But we have found at least 30 more that we're going to do this year.
We're going to do it again.
We're going to do it again. And I expect it'll be every day of December. Probably should have started at Thanksgiving, but we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, issue 39. No, it'll be issue 40. Will also be all Christmas movies.
Nice.
It's crazy. There's so not the big ones. There's been a couple of them that have come out since 2021 that were pretty good.
Like
but for the most part, these are the
Night,
more
for instance.
Violent Night was quite
pretty
good. Yes,
and that was a pretty well-known one. David Harbour in it.
Just last year.
Big name guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But most of these are going to be a little bit more obscure, but they're going to be Christmas themed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.